Welcome to the Inflow Podcast. I am your host, Michelle Bosch. I see a gaping hole across society that focuses on the outer work and forgets about the inner work, when what we really need is to bridge the gap between prosperity and spirituality to live a life in flow, with inflows of light, inflows of cash, inflows of creativity, inflows of grace in our lives. Each week, join me for powerful messages and interviews that will leave you inspired and ready to step into flow in your higher work. So now, let's go. Welcome to the Inflow Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Bosch, coming to you from beautiful Maui, Hawaii, actually. I am here with my family on a month-long I would say mini sabbatical vacation. And we took the last couple of days, I would say 8 days to really completely disconnect from everything and put brakes on my squirrel mind, and how amazing it is to be now on the other side and recognizing that if you train in your business like an athlete, that you need to rest like an athlete as well. And I think when we're in the busyness of our hectic life, we forget how important those periods of rest are, and not just rest physically, but also mental rest by completely disconnecting from social media, from anything that has to do with, you engaging on your phone, and going and checking stories, or being on Skype, or being on email, with your team or whatever. What an incredible rest. And what I want this, podcast episode to be about today is to really, share with you a little bit of what I have learned over the last 7 or 8 days. We've already been here 2 weeks here on Maui, but the very first week, my mind was so still riled up or on a high from, the last 18 months of work, that I really cannot say that true rest had begun there, but it was a beginning, because you go ahead and, when you go on vacation, you take yourself out from your normal routine, from your normal day to day, and you're in a different space, in a different environment. And so for us, it started with, coming, for the first 8 days to a beautiful hotel here on Maui. And then the remainder of our stay here, we're actually booked ourselves into this, what do you see behind me, a condo in an area called Wailea Point. And it's beautiful, overlooking the ocean. I actually, right now in front of me, which you guys don't get to see, have amazing, majestic views of, of the mountain, of the coast, and just the ocean, and palm trees and lush vegetation. And only that, I think, in the very first few days, really had an incredible effect on my ability to disconnect. But not only that, I also went ahead and decided to start a juice cleanse. I basically, before even moving into the condo, had already Googled a few companies that could deliver, beautiful, fresh, raw juices to our condo, and that had, that recipe of the 6 juices a day, with all the ingredients, with all the nutrients, with all the goodness that your body needs in order to feel supported, and not make this an incredible, difficult, cleanse. Needless to say, when you stop eating for a period of time, even though it's a liquid diet, is giving you everything that you need, there's so much that we, even socially, that involves food and eating, that we don't realize, how much energy, not just digestive energy, does food and food intake really has to do with, with how you conduct your life, and how much influence it has on your life. So that was, that was one thing that I noticed right away. It was like that sometimes activities that we associate with, with socializing and fun and so on, revolve around food. And all of a sudden, we needed to find other activities that did not involve food, which is not difficult here in the islands. If you're at the beach, there's so much sports activities and just plain relaxation, boogie boarding, or, a sunset cruise, which more than likely will offer appetizers and alcoholic drinks. And if you're on a cleanse, well, it's not as conducive, but there's other things. And what you're going to notice is that, or what I noticed was that, that it was a little bit difficult to maneuver that part of no food intake, juices. And then on top of you having to also manage or deal with the fact that, well, you're not eating, and yes, you're getting the nutrients that you need, but that you are not consuming the regular things that you usually consume, which is a ton of sugars, refined sugars, a ton of caffeine, or at least for me, I was already on cup 2, and sometimes occasionally on certain days on cup 3 of coffee, even though starting like around 2 p.m., I usually have decaf coffee, which decaffeinated coffee actually comes with many more other chemistry and other, stuff in it that is actually not good for you than if you would actually just drink the caffeinated drink. But I can't otherwise. I will probably, be up every night if I have, a second cup of real caffeinated coffee, up all night until 2 or 3 a.m. In any case, so you're dealing with the withdrawal symptoms. So number one, you're withdrawing a little bit from certain social activities that include food. Then you're withdrawing a little bit from, of course, from all the foods and drinks and beverages that are having an effect on your body, on your physical state, mental state, emotional state. And then you're also then looking to withdraw mentally as well, or at least for me, I try to pair that with a little bit of yoga and a lot of meditation and journaling and kind of like going inward, in every sense of the word, to be able to kind of like empty out of all the stuff that is in your mind, body, spirit, emotional bodies and everything, and kind of like let that go. And for me, it was in one way easy because I had mentally prepared for it. I had made the space. I knew that this place, the energy in this, in this island would be incredibly conducive to it. But at the same time, it was difficult, and it actually kicked my butt on day 1 and day 2 because, you have cravings over wanting to do certain things that involve socializing with others and that involve food. And number 2, you have cravings of the actual food. And then you have also cravings, your mind has cravings of things that it wants to be entertained with that all of a sudden it doesn't have. And so it was definitely different. And if you have never had, a cleanse that involves, mind, body, spirit, I would highly recommend it. Because like I said earlier, just like we train in our businesses, like athletes, we should also rest. That rest is part of working, because what happened for us is we timed it such right now in July, which is the beginning of Q3 of the year. And we timed it such that we had the celebration of the wins, from Q1 and Q2 of 2021, and really a lot of hard work of the first 6 months of the year, in preparation actually for a very strong beginning of Q2 for our team. And now we could celebrate on those wins, and we could really kind of like disconnect and without any hesitation of any kind, really give ourselves the space to really to really give ourselves that time to really cleanse, from the inside out. So this, like I said, this episode is just kind of like a little bit of recounting my journey, how it was, how I perhaps, I'm now on the other end and have come out on the other end. And part of my journaling, and part of that detox was journaling, like I said, and what has come out, and I have a little bit of notes here, from journaling, of things that I notice, and that is that in the beginning, like I said, it's hard, but by the time you get to day 3, you start to really let go of the cravings, of the mental cravings, of the actual physical cravings, of the emotional cravings, of the addiction to, go on social media and engage and so on and so forth. And you start to let go softly, gently. It kind of like happens gradually. Day 1 is going to be not so easy. Day 2 is probably going to be the height of it not being easy. And then day 3, it starts becoming very soft and very gentle, in terms of you being able to let go of those things and being okay with not having them, and just appreciating what you do have in your surroundings and the things that we take for granted, like sunlight, like blooms, like, I made friends with a little lizard that we locked eyes with. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but it really, day 3 really showed me that my mind and my spirit and my soul were starting to really notice the small things, the things that I would have never noticed, because I'm, in the back of my mind thinking, I'm training like an athlete for my business, and my hour is worth $1,000 an hour. And, 2 minutes of my time staring into the blooms means $66. If I put it, in this context of these numbers, and you don't give yourself, not that you're thinking about, the monetary value of each minute of your time, but that you are trying to compress so many things into, X amount of time, and your mind is always going. And there I noticed that I was allowing myself the space, the pleasure, the joy of staring out into the window and looking for lizards for many minutes at a time. And it gave me an indication that my mind was starting to become still again, to notice the little things, to notice, like I said, the things that we do take for granted, this incredible clean, fresh air, a breeze, the temperature, how it feels, the sensations in your body, the temperature of the air surrounding your body, of your hair, perhaps, if you have long hair like I do, touching your skin and feeling it and really noticing it and really being present to those things. So it was, like I said, in the beginning, not as easy letting go, but then eventually you start to notice that it becomes easier and it becomes very gentle, and you start letting go of a lot of, things, of a lot of stories that you're telling yourself about, things that you have to do, or why is it urgent now when in fact it is not urgent. And a lot of that urgency and that sense of rush that a lot of us feel in our lives, really started to melt away very gently, very softly. And it might be different for you. It definitely has been different even for myself, from one experience to the next. The last time I did a cleanse like this was about, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And it was definitely different back then than it was now. And, and every time I go also on, silence retreats, I've noticed that, every single time that you do something like that, where you kind of like take yourself out from the routine of your life and try to detox, whether it be mentally, spiritually, or physically, that each and every time is different. But what I noticed, like I said earlier, is that on day 3 for me, it was much gentler. It was almost like, when I'm watching here, and a breeze comes by and the trees kind of let go of their leaves, and it just kind of happened. The tree doesn't know exactly when it's going to happen, if it's going to be in the breeze from right now, or the breeze from, a little bit of breeze from 2 minutes from now, when it lets go of its leaves. But it's as gentle as that, and you don't know when it's going to happen. For me, it happened on day 3, and it was a delight to find freshness in the simplicity, like I said, of the things that are on your everyday that you start to notice again, that you start to pick up on, and therefore give you the opportunity to have much more presence with actually the people that are important in our lives. Because this is not something I think that is done just for me. Yes, I absolutely, it's part of my self-care and self-love. I think for me to do one of these actually once a quarter now, from now on, now that I notice, the incredible big difference on that it has had the effect of the juicing from the inside out. That I want to continue that and actually put that into like a structured rhythm of about once a quarter doing something like this. Some people might do it once a month and so on and so forth, but for me, I think a once a quarter would definitely be great. And just noticing again, like I said, the that you will have the opportunity to have that freshness. You're going to start seeing the same things and having the same people around you, and you noticing them differently because you're coming to them with much more presence. I noticed, us being able to be at the dinner table. We have always done like phone stacks, whenever we have dinner together as a family, but there's always this kind of like rushing through the meal to be able to get to the next thing. I don't know if that has ever happened to you, where you're rushing through one thing just so that you can get to the next thing because your mind is already on the next thing. And when you're on that next thing, you're already on the next thing after. And what I noticed here is that we were able to just enjoy each other's company, have, conversations as we're sipping on our juice, enjoying, the simple things in life that the island here has to offer. And that there was that rush, again, stopped or became less intense around day 3. It improved day 4, and that day 5 was even better. And we're right now on day 5. That day 5 is today. And that I'm able to, even this morning in our interaction with team members or with Sophia and Jack, that we were able to bring so much more presence. Also, what I noticed how important it is to take times to kind of like do a timeout, on your life and your environment and so on, is for the fact that because you're going to be bringing freshness and new eyes to the same things that you already have to deal with, that you will be able to possibly hold a bigger vision for, or a different vision. It doesn't have to be bigger, but it can be a different vision for the things that you want out of life, for the things that you want out of the next 90 days. If you're not looking at a vision that is 5 or 10 days out, is that's too difficult for you to extrapolate, then look at you will notice that that how you see your next 90 days will probably look different as well if you go through something like what I decided to put myself through, and that it gives you an opportunity again to reconnect that vision, which is something that is very mental, again, to your heart, and to bring heart to it and hold that vision in prayer in conjunction with your heart, and that energy and that vibration that that heart brings to that vision, to that mental image, to that mental exercise of envisioning, of imagining, a future, that when you bring heart and that you and kind of infuse that into the vision, it's almost like a prayer, and that you are able to see that vision and feel it in a very different way, even though it may still be the same vision that you had before you started something, but that when you bring the heart, into it that it's gonna look different, that it's gonna feel different, and that I think I would have not been able to do without me putting a big, huge brakes on how I was, living my life, and for at least for just a period of 4 or 5 days, and allowing that space basically to give me that freshness again. I don't know if I'm making myself here understood, but I'm rambling a little bit because I'm just basically, like I said, I had just a few notes prepared, and the rest I figured is just going to come out. But again, the importance of rest, rest that is mental, rest that is physical, rest that is digestive. I notice my skin becoming, brighter, more glowier. Yes, of course, I'm in a beautiful, humid, environment here in Hawaii as compared to Phoenix, Arizona, which is super dry. But I can sense the radiance from the inside out, much stronger than 5 days ago, and part of it is from giving us ourselves that digestive rest as well, so that the energy that would have gone into being spent on digesting solid foods has gone into, I hope, replenishing, nourishing, repairing, renewing, restoring, at a cellular level, based on the juices that I was consuming, and the ingredients and the effects that each of those ingredients has in your body. So yeah, so rest. Um, it'll allow you to weave delight. I think you will find that if you ever, give yourselves the opportunity to have that kind of a rest, that it'll give you an opportunity to find delight, to find forgiveness of yourself, of others, to find a little bit more self-love, to find freshness, to find simplicity, and more than anything, to find much more presence to the everyday little things that we take for granted, the people that we take for granted, the relationships that we take for granted. And it makes us appreciate, everything that we do have so much more, and reconnect again those mental projections and those mental visions and those mental goals that we have for ourselves, and kind of like reconnect them again with our heart, and infuse them with a vibration of our heart, and in my opinion, strong vision that can easily, attract the right people, the right connections, the right mentors, the right everything in your life. And if you are listening to this, if you're new to the podcast, if you survive this rambling right now with me on, my journey over the last several days of this, complete cleanse, and you're looking, for perhaps a new vision, perhaps a new opportunity to start fresh, to start anew. We are getting ready right now to begin the promotion. So if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably the first one to hear about it. A new masterclass that is coming up August 9th, for which you can already register. You can go to landprofitmaster.com. These are 5-day masterclasses where we basically teach you everything that has to do with land flipping, that has to do with, getting in, identifying, first of all, a market, to start sending direct mail to. We usually use direct mail if you're new to, me and to the land profit generator flipping world. We use direct mail. We teach you, where to find list of vacant landowners, how to put a deal under contract, what kind of offers to send out, how to market that property easily, so that and effectively, so that you can find buyers that are willing to pay more than what you have that property under contract for, so that you can actually make a profit. And yeah, so we have tons of stories every single day that we wake up to, and from just people that may have heard about me got on a podcast for something completely different, like you are right now. You're probably listening to me and you were attracted because of the headline, the title, or maybe because you just wanted to hear what I had to say about, cleansing and detoxing, and then come and join us on a master class. That paves kind of like the way, or starts an incredible runway for them to get started, to get going. And yeah, I want to invite you. Like I said, you can go to landprofitmaster.com. We start August 9th. It's a 5-day class. You have access to our team. You have access to land specialists, land coaches that are with us, co-teaching that event. You have the accountability and support of a community, and we would love to have you there. So if that's something that you want to explore and start looking into, landprofitmaster.com. I would love to have you there. Thank you so much for spending time with me. And I look forward to spending a little bit of time again with you. Thank you again. I don't take lightly for the opportunity that you give me to come into your space, into your real estate, the most important real estate, which is that in between your two ears, and listen to my shares. So thank you so very much, and I look forward to being with you on the next episode.
I hope this episode left you feeling inspired and ready to get inflows of cash, inflows of light, and inflows of faith in your life. I welcome your reviews on iTunes. Please leave me a review and help me create an amazing community of women in flow. Thank you, as always, for sharing your voice by going to michellebosch.com and joining the conversation about this show. And while you're there, grab a copy of my 10 Commandments to Living a Life in Flow. You can also follow me on Facebook at Michelle Bosch and on Instagram at Michelle Bosch Official. Thank you very much, and until the next one.